Welcome back to the Athlete Family Podcast, where we discuss everything performance nutrition, both for the athlete and for your everyday life.
Today we're getting into our second zone, and that would be our pantry. So things to consider, some core concepts we want to think about when we're thinking about storage in the pantry and some food items in there. Quick meals that we can build off of, like our carbohydrates that we store in there, any canned items that can be useful to help go off of our fridge zone as well. So some cooked proteins that we have in the fridge, what can we pair with from our pantry zone as well? Consistent snacks. That's very important for athletes. We know that unfortunately, it's kind of hard to get all of the nutrients we need in throughout the day from meals alone. So making sure that we have a lot of nutrient-dense snacks ready and easily accessible is really important for them. Easy carb access. So in our pantry, which we'll go into more details, we have like our pastas, our rice, our oats, things like that. And then recovery fueling as well. So some easy things that we can store in the pantry to help fuel and recover throughout the day as well.
Yes, so your pantry should be split into 3 sections. The first one is going to be these performance carbohydrates that we're talking about. So, carbohydrates that are going to help you perform. And what this looks like is rice, pasta, oats, quinoa,
Mhm.
potatoes, sweet potatoes, bread products, things like your sourdough, tortillas, and granola. You can make your own, or you could have a store-bought option
Mhm.
as well. So we want to think of, okay, what can we have that's going to give us those complex carbohydrates, so helping us with long energy in terms of fueling. And then we're also going to need simple carbohydrates too. So things even like, dried fruit and maybe some of those pouches as well. So like the applesauce pouches, granola bars, fruit bars, those types of things are going to give you a little bit of that quick energy as well.
Mhm.
So both are very important for athletes and both play a role in high performance athletics. And also for the parents who want those quick snacks,
Yeah.
you might want things like protein bars as opposed to the granola bars. Maybe you need the granola bar if it's an early morning workout. So consider, okay, what am I going to have that's going to fuel my workout the best, and what time is my workout? So this is where you're kind of running off of that schedule and kind of knowing what is available
Mhm.
to you.
Don't be ashamed to pull out that go-go squeeze. If it's necessary, go for it. It's
I
great.
love me a go-go squeeze. Yeah, again, it's quick energy, and it's important to, consider that we are going to be on the go and that
Yeah.
we do need these options to throw into our cooler for the day, our lunch bag that's going to help us with that energy right before a workout.
Mhm.
So athletes are often under fueling carbs, so they don't quite understand that, it is still our main source of energy for high performance athletics. So, do we need to be eating carbs all day, every day? Not necessarily, but if you're an athlete, they not only are going to fuel performance in your sport, but they also are a huge part of recovery process so that you can come back harder and push the next day for your workout. They help with sleep, they help with your immune system. So for athletes, and most people, carbohydrates are essential in order to fuel high performance.
Mhm.
And so, again, it's not only in sport, high performance could be, mental performance, and making sure that you're showing up at your work every day, and helping you get through those hard workouts. Whatever it is, carbohydrates can play a role in that high performance situation. So, some common things that we'll see is like very low energy if you're not eating enough carbohydrates, slower recovery, and just overall poor performance.
Yeah.
So, next go-to section are going to be your grab and goes. So, we mentioned things like granola bars. Homemade is preferred. We would want to obviously put those in the fridge, but also having just go-to granola bars from the store as
Yeah.
well. There's some great ones that you can get at Costco, that type of thing, that are going to be that quick carbohydrate option for you.
Mhm.
Energy and protein bars, so things like Hornby, RX, David Protein, uh, Bear Bells, whatever it is that you like. I wouldn't use these as your main protein source. I think there's a lot of I've gone off on this before, and I
Mhm.
won't go into a lot of detail about the protein products out there, but protein is in everything. It's having its moment of popularity like every macronutrient.
It's protein's
And
phase.
yeah, so we don't want to rely on things like, even though they can assist high performance athletics and to get your protein goals in, we don't want to rely on protein shakes and protein bars
Yeah.
for our main protein sources. So I'll just throw that out there. I
Mhm.
won't go off on my tangent, I promise. Maybe that's for a whole other pod.
We'll
But,
come back.
we want to make sure that we can get those protein sources from whole foods as much as possible, and then use these in addition when we're in a rush. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that we can't replace our whole food options with all of this processed protein that is coming out here.
Yes. In addition, not to replace. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Nuts and seeds and trail mixes are great options. Chia seeds, hemp seeds, and just having those pumpkin seeds, those are all really great options. You can keep a lot of these in the fridge as well. I would recommend like the chia seeds and
Hemp
yeah, hemp
hemp
as well
seeds.
to keep in the fridge. Rice cakes can be a great addition for great simple carbohydrates that are going to be, they're again processed, but in situations where you need a quick, energy boost, they can be great. Things like nut butter, you can store these in the fridge as
Mhm.
well, but making sure that it's, natural as possible. So you will have that separation of
Oh,
oil,
yeah. Mhm.
which drives people crazy. You need to mix up, or you could store it upside down
Yeah.
as well.
It's a bit of a controversial topic in my house. So do you store your nut butter in the fridge or in the pantry?
It depends. Like I store some of them, which I probably should store all of them.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Getting on the peanut butter in the fridge is a tough
I
one.
know. My dad loves it, and I'm kind of against it at times just because I like when it's a little smoother
I
like
know, but
that,
it
but
should,
yeah.
based on nuts and seeds can go rancid, so it should be
Yes,
stored in the fridge,
definitely.
but it doesn't always happen. Dried fruit is a great option too. So as we mentioned, there's like those little packets of like dried mango,
Mhm.
having things like raisins and dates and those types of
Yeah.
things are great for the pantry because they are a quick, simple source of
Yeah.
carbohydrates for athletes that they can grab and go and put in that cooler for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the last thing is going to be things like, that are going to help boost the nutrition of your meals. So these are things that you might not have every day, and sparingly things like canned tuna and sardines. I might say sardines, people are like, oh, but they are such a great source of omega-3s. I actually personally love them, but I am from the East Coast, so I love most fish. But sometimes that's a no for people, which is fine. But things like canned tuna, canned salmon, those types of things. Beans and lentils are highly underrated. I
Yeah.
love beans and lentils. They're so high in fiber,
Mhm.
high in B vitamins. Having some canned lentils and
Yeah.
chickpeas to add
Chickpeas
to
are great.
salads
Yeah.
and like cooked lentils as well.
Mhm.
You will find a lot of brands that are, really promoting those. I got this like trail mix the other day that was just straight beans, but there's like 12 grams of protein. Not something you want all the
Yeah.
time, but it's like a mix that's similar
Yeah.
to trail mix that
Underrated.
yeah, is
Absolutely.
good.
Mhm.
And then also your, things like tomato sauce and shelf-stable protein sources. So again, whatever that's going to look like that you can store
Yeah.
in your pantry. And then pasta, having all different shapes of pasta, especially if you have kids. Do you want the long
The
noodles?
go-to.
Do you want the spirals? Do you want the animal-shaped
The
pasta?
butterfly, as I used to
The
call as a
butterfly?
kid, my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Penne, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, tubes. You can, get creative with it.
Yeah.
So the pantry has to be set up in, okay, a lot of carbohydrates options.
Mhm.
What are your grab and goes? So those things, those packaged foods that you get that are going to end up in the pantry
Yeah.
that will get probably eaten up first
Yes.
based on all the things.
First
I know
go-tos.
your first go-tos. Things like fruit roll-ups are also like they have a lot of natural fruit roll-ups now. My
Mhm.
kids love these. So yeah, having things like that can be good additions for adults
Mhm.
too for that quick, pre-workout or extra carbohydrate source for energy. So, common pantry mistakes that we see, snacks are hidden in the back, and then your kids go and they're like, "There's nothing in the house to eat."
Just gotta look a little further. There's
Yes.
nothing in here.
So, I mean, this is kinda dangerous for me, but we have, like, a snack drawer, you literally pull it out, and it's, like, now m
Oh, no,
my
the kiddo.
toddlers get their little stools and chairs and bring them right up to it, and they can both reach now. I'm
Really?
like, "Oh, we gotta move this up." So they'll grab their own snacks now, which is very troubling. So I need to move that. But if you're an adult, I mean, maybe we need to move these as well as adults, but, having it so that it's like, "Okay, I know what I have." Again, that inventory piece.
Yeah.
Um, Too many single ingredients, so things that you can't just throw on, salads or
Yeah.
throw together meals. No quick meal options. So again, like always having those, kind of like a grain option, even if it's just one, even if you just always have rice, a couple different varieties, whether it's like a wild rice or basmati rice,
Mhm.
like having a couple different options for that. Maybe you have a
Mhm.
quinoa Everyone knows that's not my favorite, but, if you like quinoa,
Yeah.
go
Orzo is a great option too. Forgot
orzo,
about that one.
exactly. So having, a couple different options and then a pasta option and then a root vegetable or potato option as well. So even if you just have those 3 available to your pantry, you're gonna set yourself up for some meals there.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yeah, just buying things just to buy things as opposed to organizing is where we can get in trouble.
Mhm.
I have this, risotto mix that I've never used. I'm literally thinking in my pantry right now, and I keep looking at that
Going
risotto,
through
and
it.
I'm like, I need to make that,
Mhm.
but I haven't planned, and it's just sitting there. So,
Yeah.
we all have those things that maybe you got in a box for Christmas, and I really have great intentions with it. I just haven't
Got
done it
around to
yet.
it yet. Yeah.
And we all have those things. So, again, the inventory of the pantry is crucial. So, what do I have? What can I cook with this week? And do I need to go and get a bunch of extra things and just add to my pantry and shove everything else to the back, as opposed to using what I
Yeah.
currently have?
Do a quick inventory check before you go to that grocery store just to make sure you're not buying duplicates of anything or you're missing something that you should have bought when you were there.
Yeah, exactly. And then ways we can always upgrade to this performance pantry. So we mentioned, having those carbohydrates, oats. I didn't mention those, I don't think, yeah, I mentioned them briefly,
Yeah,
but
really quick.
oats are like are,
Key.
are key because
Mhm.
not only can you make oatmeal, but you can make granola bars, you can do
Yes.
overnight oats.
My
Um,
favorite.
yeah, and those are quick options. So having things like oats, the nut butters, the granola bars, the trail mix, things like honey and maple syrup, always having those in hand,
Yeah.
and possibly protein powder as well. And so if you can get organized, and I'm not saying to go and, go nuts on
Mhm.
Amazon with all the clear bins like I did,
I feel like
but
everyone has to go through that phase at least once.
I need to get organized. This is
Yeah.
why I'm not prepping meals, is because, and hey, we're talking about how important it is to get organized. So
Mhm.
whatever you need to do, even at like places like Dollarama and Bulk Barn, like they
They
have
have great
great
ones.
storage options for
Mhm.
pantry. So I think clear is the way to go, just like we talked about our fridge zone.
Mhm.
If you can get clear pantry items, or pantry bins so that you can see what's in there.
Everything's
Um,
visible.
yeah, and then group similar foods so that you know what you're out of. So again, like have those carbohydrate zones, have the grab and go zones,
Mhm.
have the, trail mixes, cooked or prepared proteins, those types of things.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, snack zones if possible. And then again, just taking a quick inventory of what you have.
Yeah.
What did we miss about the pantry?
I feel like those are the key points, just making sure you're on top of what you have in there. Just always avoid missing the back of the pantry, which
Yeah.
I have been guilty of in the past. So that's why I'm just repeating it again, just to remind others. Yeah, make sure you have at least some backup options in there, always available because they're easily stored in the pantry. They can last a little bit longer than other foods that aren't perishable. Um, so just making sure you have enough and always have those backup ideas and recipes in
Mm-hmm.
mind that you can have just in case something happens, which
Yeah.
it happens. Maybe your kid doesn't like a meal, unfortunately. So having that backup option that might be stored in the pantry is always a great thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can also get like there's some, prepared like, mac and cheese options
Mhm.
and all that. Like it's not going to be your best performance food, but they do have better versions of those things now, that maybe you do have to,
Yeah.
rely on those.
Mhm.
And I know because we probably will get asked about it, what about junk food?
Yes.
So we have so our pantry is like a big drawer, and it's got a very high shelf, which we
Perfect.
keep the weekend foods
Of
for or whatever.
course.
Like, they don't just have to be weekends, but things like, popcorn.
Hmm.
And although I love popcorn, it's actually really high in fiber and can be, if you're using the right
Yeah.
ingredients, a good thing to
Yeah.
get some extra fiber, but and it's also low calorie
Hmm.
but, things like chocolate and, areas where
Gummies, things like
you
those. Yeah.
things that Smart Sweets, my daughter is obsessed with those. I mean,
Then
I
me
really
too.
like them too, but
Mhm.
trying to keep them so that it's like not as accessible
Yeah.
for like every day as a performance food. And
Yeah.
again, there's always a time and a place for things like this. So again, like movie night, we have movie night every Friday in our house, and we
Love
get the
that.
popcorn, we get the like movie snacks out, and it's
Hmm.
always from those. So like I said, we like, some chocolate and
Hmm.
some popcorn,
Yeah.
chips, those types of things that you're having, not every day as a
Yeah.
performance food, but picking a night as a family to
Mhm.
enjoy those things.
In
But
moderation.
yeah,
Keep
again,
it in moderation.
it's not going to be the food that's going to fuel you right before
Mhm.
a game or a practice and
Yeah.
those types of things.
Yeah. Definitely keep, like, all those simple carbs and everything that we've gone through in the past more easily accessible, maybe
Yeah.
keeping those at eye level in comparison to those, I don't wanna say junk food, but those weekend treats, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the title it's gotten, but every food category does have its place,
Yeah.
right? And we've talked about this before. It's not about being perfect. It's
Mhm.
about timing and consistency,
Yeah.
right? So, if the majority of your diet is planned and you're, organizing this, like of course there's going to be times when you're going to have those indulgences
Mhm.
and as you should.
Yeah.
Like it's not about perfection as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And sometimes as athletes, like we actually need those quick absorbing
Those
carbohydrates
sugars,
and
yeah.
yeah, the sugars
Mhm.
to support your heavy training. So things that have a lot of high fiber might not be appropriate for certain timings.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about that later. But, just knowing that it is these zones of like having that, performance based foods available for you that
Mhm.
are going to set you up for success.
Yeah.